Hey, Magic Man here, and today I'm just going to bring you a short little clip from one of the games I had in my Tier 5 British cruiser, the Emerald. I'm working up this line, and I gotta say I'm not a huge fan of the British cruisers from like Tier 1 through 6. I think they're kind of bad, and I believe they really start to shine right around Tier 7 with the Fiji and all the way up to Tier 10. Now, I think one of the problems with the lower tier British cruisers is that their concealment is not very good. This in particular, the Emerald, is 11.2 kilometers of detectability, so you can't really set yourself up in a position to ambush an enemy or really set yourself up in a position where you can get good flanking shots in on the enemy so you can do a lot of damage. So you can't really do too much in these lower tier battles with these ships, and I think that's why the lower tier British cruisers suffer so badly, because they just don't have the concealment required to sit up in the positions that you need to deal large amounts of damage. But anyways, I picked kind of a bad spot to sit up in this game, because with it being epicenter, I thought there were going to be a lot of people rushing into the middle to capture it. But that didn't end up being the case, and unfortunately for me, there's only one ship to shoot at, so it is what it is. Now, this is one thing I'm not a huge fan of with these British ships, because you can only fire AP. For whatever reason, the arcs are the arcs are kind of floaty, which I'm not a huge fan of. It's not till you get around 8 kilometers that they really kind of start to flatten out. It reminds me a lot of the American cruiser line. But as you can see, I'm not really scoring any citadel penetrations here. And as soon as I say that, I actually score a citadel penetration, but I think that's because he's making sort of small course corrections and it's exposing the underside of his ship, like the unarmored part. And I'm about to find out here when he has to turn for these torpedoes if that's the case. Yeah, and it looks like that's the case. Actually land a citadel penetration there, and actually got a shatter. So yeah, one shell hit that little red lining on the bottom of his ship, and that's the unarmored underbelly, and I easily got a citadel penetration there. But I'm moving over here to the other side of the map to try and help these guys out on the eastern flank. And as I go to look at the map, I saw that there were 2 destroyers, so I figured I might have to turn around to try and save our aircraft carrier and battleship back there. But yeah, the British cruisers overall, just not a huge fan of them, but luckily I finally got out of the lower tier ships that I thought were kind of bad. This was probably, I think it was first or second game that I had in this ship when I unlocked it. This game's probably from like a week ago or something like that. But the one thing you do get on these British cruisers that's really unique to them, besides the smoke screen, is the fact that you get a heal in the lower tier, which really helps you, because these British cruisers are a floating citadel, sort of like the Russian cruisers. If you hit them anywhere between the front turret and the back turret with a battleship caliber gun, and even closer up, say 10 kilometers or less with an 8-inch caliber gun, you're basically going to get citadels. And you know, there's nothing you can do about it in these ships. Against other cruisers, you can usually have enough armor to angle against them, but with battleships, it doesn't matter. If they land a shell in the middle of your ship, you're going to take a huge amount of damage, because the armor on these things is just so terrible. You basically have no armor. You are a paper ship, and your citadel is huge. Not only is it huge, but it sticks up out of the water quite a bit, so that doesn't help either. But these cruisers, they do seem to accelerate very quickly, but they slow down incredibly slowly, and I don't know how many times I've popped a smoke and I've actually glided out of my smoke because I didn't look to see what speed I was going when I popped it, and sure enough, I wasn't going slow enough, That's happened several times. Luckily I haven't had any of my games in because of it, but it is kind of annoying. Unfortunately, we actually take out that Furitaka, but it looks like we're going to lose our Isokazi because he's on fire and he doesn't have repair. So we lose our destroyer there, and right now we're down 2 ships. It's 4 against 6. I'm going to set up a smoke here because I thought this Wyoming was going to be an issue for me. But he ends up eating some torpedoes. It doesn't look like he has a repair because he's on fire. So he's probably going to flood out. And unfortunately for me, that leaves no targets to shoot at. But the good thing here, though, is that the enemy doesn't have me spotted. So at this point, I can make a play. I realize that with us being down 2 ships still, it's 5 against 3. We're not going to have a very good chance of winning this game unless I do something here to change the course of this game. Now, unfortunately for me, I actually get spotted by the Karlsruhe. I thought this was going to be a good opportunity to sneak up on these guys behind this island over here without them seeing me, but that doesn't end up being the case because of this guy. I'm going to try and take him out. And this is one of the bad parts of British cruisers. If a target's angled against you, as you saw, I hit a couple of shells there, but only one of them actually penetrated and did any damage. When people angle against you, you lose a lot of your damage potential. Now, this Emerald was going to come out of this island, but he sort of turned in, but now it looks like he's turning back out. And I guess maybe he thought I was going to launch torpedoes or come out of the backside of this island, but I don't. And I'm just sort of watching him to see what he's doing here. I don't know if he's getting close to the island because of the torpedo bombers coming in or what, but I'm going to take some blind torpedo shots here. I felt like he was close enough I could predict it without the indicator showing me what he was doing. And I kept the indicator locked on to the enemy battleship to see what he was doing, which looked like he was just sailing forward. And we actually take out the enemy Emerald there. Got a devastating strike award for it. And I popped my hydroacoustic search here because I was afraid that Emerald might have launched torpedoes. And I hesitated there to launch my torps just to see what this Kaiser was going to do. And it doesn't look like he was going to do much of anything, so I went ahead and launched him. And turns out that he in fact was not going to make any course corrections, so we take him out. And that's one of the great things about the single fire torpedo ability on the British cruisers, is that you really can make every torpedo count versus other cruisers and destroyers that have to use a spread fire. You can fire all of your torpedoes in one single spot, and you can really make all of them really hit, which is great. Now this guy's actually giving me a lot of the side of his ship for whatever reason. Typically British cruisers sort of angle in, kind of like what I'm doing, keeping a nice sharp angle. I don't want him to be able to do more damage than he can. And luckily I still have my hydroacoustic search up, so I'm going to be able to spot any torpedoes that he sends at me. And that's when torpedoes pop up. Actually hit him with some penetrations and a citadel, take him out. I'm able to dodge his torpedoes, which surprisingly, when he launched those torpedoes, I was angled sort of straight in at him. It wasn't until after I almost killed him that I finally turned out. And if he had aimed those just a little bit more out, he probably would have taken me out. But I guess he just didn't predict just how far out I would turn and how fast I was able to travel. But at this point, all I have to do is avoid getting hit by the enemy torpedo bombers, and I should be able to take out this carrier without any problems. And sure enough, we're able to avoid the torpedoes. That's one thing I'm not a huge fan of, is how slow these cruisers slow down, but it is what it is. And all we got to do is lay some torpedoes in the side of the enemy carrier here, get our 4th kill, and that'll be the game. So anyways, moving on to the results there. We actually got 2 devastating strikes and we got high caliber there. I ended up doing 111,000 points of damage. We actually ended up sinking 4 ships before it was all said and done. And didn't get a whole lot of hits with our shells, but the game didn't last that long to begin with. But we ended up with 17,000 base experience in a tier 5 game, which isn't too shabby considering about half the opposition was tier 4, the other half was tier 5 ships. So I think that really shows how much we brought that game back for our team there. And a lot of my damage actually came from the torpedoes, and I guess yeah, the main battery hits too counted for about half of that damage. So about half and half there. You got to really use both of your armaments in the British cruisers to be successful. That really reflects there in the results. But after everything was said and done, I actually made 137,000 credits off of this game and 4,300 Commander XP, so that wasn't too bad. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Thanks for watching. So anyways, moving on.